Thank you so much, Matt. We are joined by a very special guest right now. This is Ann Benz. She's our Student Assistance Coordinator for the Bozeman Public Schools District. And Mary, you wear quite a few hats in your job. I understand you are a part of the Bozeman Parents company and publication there, and we'll chat on that in just a moment. But we have quite a heavy topic that we don't want to talk about, but it's important to talk about, and that is suicide. And here in Montana, we have an alarming high rate. And so why don't you tell everybody what's happening tonight at the Willson?
So tonight, Carl Rustin, who is our Montana State Suicide Prevention Coordinator, is coming to speak to any parent, any care provider, anybody in Bozeman free at the Willson, 6:30 to 8. His presentation is probably an hour to an hour and a half long. He does some QPR training in there, which is question, persuade, and refer. So he's going to talk about Montana statistics. He's also going to talk about signs of depression along with signs of suicide. And then my favorite part is really how he kind of goes into asking and how to ask somebody if they're feeling suicidal, because that is really a tough question to ask somebody.
It's a tough question. It's a loaded question. I think a lot of times we shy away from talking about mental health. And thinking about when we were growing up, you didn't have the day and age of social media and cell phones and all the different things that students nowadays are facing. That is a whole different side of cyberbullying and all the other tough things that kids are dealing with now. So I'm assuming he's kind of touching on those topics as well.
He does a little bit of talking about that, but the majority of his conversation is just looking for those signs and symptoms and just being able to identify. And then once we identify a person is in crisis, what do we do next? And asking them and debunking those myths that it's okay to ask somebody, are you feeling suicidal? And we don't want to say, are you feeling like hurting yourself? Because hurting yourself and committing suicide are definitely two different events.
Absolutely.
So asking them that question, and then once you get that answer, debunking that myth that if I'm asking them about suicide, that I'm putting an idea in your head. And that's not the truth. We are not. They've already thought about it. They've already thought about killing themselves. And now what is the next step? So the next step is we get them to help.
Yes.
We tell, we treat, we get them to help. And really, as a state, we're doing pretty good in training our students and our youth, but we're missing a large population. We're missing the people like you and I that really need to hear. And it's hard to think that our own child would be suicidal.
I can't
but
imagine.
You know what? It's not just identifying that, it's identifying our elderly and our veterans and everybody else.
Absolutely. It affects everybody. And whether it directly affects you, indirectly affects you, it's important to talk about. So once again, tonight at the Willson in downtown Bozeman, what time does it start?
6:30.
6:30.
We're in the boardroom.
Free for all to attend.
Free.
Ann Benz with us here live in the studio. Thank you for getting up so early on your Thursday.
Thank you.
We wish you the most success with the event tonight, and it's talked about and brought to the forefront.
Thank you.
Montana This Morning is back in 2 minutes. Stay right here.